Hello and welcome. My name is Tom.
And I'm Heather.
And you're sitting at the Couples Table.
The Couples Table is a live stream podcast here on this channel. Join us for better or worse.
For richer or poorer.
In sickness and in health.
As long as we both shall live.
Yay.
Hello. I think there it is. That's what we needed. That's what we needed right there.
Yes.
Well, hello.
Hello. Hello,
hello.
everybody. Episode 56. Here we are.
Yay. Sorry, I realized I learned something.
What'd you learn?
During podcasts and things, if I use a trackpad instead of a mouse, it doesn't have the clicky sound because I can just tap instead of clicking on stuff. And then you can have a mouse, so then we can both control and pop up whatever. Oh, now we're fighting over the mouse.
Yay.
So thank you guys for being here. I did want to highlight.
What do you want to highlight?
Well, I really wanted to highlight Bailey pointing out the Ska podcast, who has listened yet. It is up. Second episode comes out tomorrow. Finished editing that this morning. Bailey, it's on everywhere. You're saying you couldn't find it on Apple. It's been approved on Apple, but they're the slowest to actually get it up there. So hopefully soon, but it should be on every other podcasting service. It's been submitted and approved. Up and running. Episode 2 coming at you tomorrow. So that was the important news that we needed to really take care of at the start of this episode.
Gosh.
But you know what?
What?
The reason that I'm excited people like the Ska podcast so much or interested is because we have such a great community here, and transition into talking about community.
Did you just say transition into talking?
My brain stopped working for a second there.
Well, okay, so community.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's what happened.
Yeah, we can go back a little bit.
We were in the car this morning,
Wait,
getting
was it
puppuccinos.
That was this morning.
Yeah, for the puppers. If you missed it, check out my Instagram stories. But I was like, Tom, what do you want to talk about on the couples table today? And he was like, we should talk about community. And then I cut him off and I was like, yeah, you're right. And then turns out we were thinking of two different things.
No, I said we should talk about the idea and you were like, yeah, exactly. And I was that you can build meaningful relationships online. You're like, no, like platforms.
Because
it's all
yeah. Well,
two
so
sides
that's
of the
what we're
same.
gonna talk about because you have made a lot of progress this week with finding new homes for your communities to hang out.
Yes, and we've made big progress on our Mighty Network.
Yes.
Yeah. So
let's start with yours and then we'll go into the
so
practical.
basically what we thought might be helpful is one, partially as a news update for everyone here of like, hey, this is what all the things are and why they're here, but also on the creator side of things, at least from our point of view, why you might want to choose something over something else. And I know I have my little monitor that's going over here. I only have one in my ear. I think it was Josh asked what in-ear monitors are you using. I don't know what these are. They're okay. They are, what the heck are they? CCA.
Is that what IEMS is?
Yeah. Doc Rock recommended them, and I do like them, and they're affordable, but they're like, I think he has bigger ears than I do. I got like tiny ears, and so they're a little big, and yeah. So anyway, I like my drum ones more. I should just use those, but I gotta like go get them, and so I could have.
Why don't you just buy other ones?
I know. That's what I should do. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't because I'm a silly person. So anyway, we'll save our Mighty Network thing till the end, I guess. So when we started talking about coming up with like a community and building a thing, it kind of was at the tail end of like a discussion we talked about before. Like we started a Discord for the couples table like a year ago, which like has been semi-active, but we were bad at checking it, running it, hosting it, and that wasn't great. And then around the time we started that, I kind of got into the idea of like I should make a Discord for my YouTube channel because people keep asking like, do you have a Discord? Do you have a Discord? It'd be cool to do that. And I've seen other people use them, not just to build community, but to like be effective. It's one of those things where like, say you're doing a live stream and people want to submit videos to be reviewed or their channel or whatever, but then the chat of YouTube blocks them. They can go to the Discord and submit everything, or you can get moderators for chats through there, or you can come up with topic ideas, vote on things. Like
it's just a non-YouTube.
It makes the creator viewer YouTube relationship a little more of a two-way street than the one-way street. Some kind of community like that. So I like set one up, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, and then never did anything with it because Discord it makes me feel so old because it's confusing to me. There's like so many options, which is awesome. Like you can customize everything. You can the sky's the limit. But every time I go to look for help for it and I look up a video like how to set up a Discord server, it's always some 14-year-old speaking the language that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this kid's brilliant. I know he's like failing English 1 or whatever, but like
okay, first of all, you don't.
I don't know that, but I remember students where I'm like, your grades are terrible, but when it comes to this kind of stuff that you care about, you're like completely brilliant, which says a lot about the education system more than the kid. Anyway, that's a different topic. So I never really did anything with it. And I had wanted to do a community. I'd been wanting to think about starting something. Then we were talking about Mighty Networks, and then we got into a whole discussion of like, this is ours, but mine, and this and that. And it's really confusing to figure out like where you want to build a community, because what you don't want to do is change it often. And I've been a part of communities that died because you sign up for a message board or whatever, and a few months later, like, we're switching platforms over here. And it's like, it's very hard to make the leap. And so you do want to pick something that you think has the potential to run for the long term, because the community needs to put down roots. And that's the whole thing. Like the interface, getting used to, once people get used to the way whatever system you're using works, and then it becomes more fluid for them to interact. You don't want to then like, we updated, now everything's in a different place and you don't know what to click, and then it kills the communication. I don't know if you did message boards when you were younger.
Yeah.
I loved message boards. And you guys probably know that at this point. Those were my favorite. I even remember there was a thread from like on some music message board I was a member of like 20 years ago. which said, "What's your favorite part of the internet?" And I said message boards, because I like lived on message boards. At the time, they were super active. You could find whatever you were interested in. You could find a message board for it, and it would have hundreds, if not thousands, of posts a day. Like, just, there's literally hundreds of users online at any given time, and there's just constant conversation happening. But it's so organized, because they're really basic. It's just, here's a forum where you go in there, and there's a bunch. That forum is about a specific topic. So say it's a music one, here's electric guitars. You go in there and it's just stuff about electric guitars. You can see how many replies it has, how many people have viewed it. Then you go in, it's super easy to see quotes. It's super easy to reply. You have a profile. You can message people. You can put any relevant links in your profile. Just simplicity and usability, and it's searchable. It's chronological. I could go on. And a lot of it too was open source. Like, you could just download the application or whatever for free and install it on your server wherever you're hosting your website, and then you're in charge of it. So you can totally customize the code for every page. You could you're in charge of everything. So it's not like, oh, this company that's hosting it went out of business, so your whole community died. It's like, as long as your server's up and running, even if they stopped producing that bulletin board software, it didn't matter, because you were still going. I loved message boards, and they just sort of died with like Web 2.0 stuff and algorithms and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple, like the Mac Rumors message board is still pretty active. Photography on the Net is still pretty active. Those are like a couple that I know of that are the same as they've always been for decades and still going, but they're not nearly as active as they used to be. And it's sad. So anyway, that whole tangent there was to tell you my initial idea was like, well, why don't I start a message board? Because I could just build that from scratch, and then you're in charge of everything, and it's great. But especially knowing, if you're in like the world of AV tech, the people in that community are probably going to want to share AV clips, and old school message boards aren't great for that. Whereas new stuff like Mighty Networks, Discord, whatever, like you can post direct links to videos, you can embed stuff, you can voice chat, and it's like, it kind of makes more sense. So I had to like let that go and look for like, what is a more modern option? And then we'd found Mighty Networks, which has been super cool. And it is probably overall like the closest thing to an old school message board, just looks fancier. And ultimately, I think it is, I don't know, I'm not gonna say it's nicer, but it probably is nicer, because it's kind of a hybrid of like, here's topics and forums and posts, but also here's like a smart element that will throw out the relevant stuff to you, but it's not ads, which I'm just so used to, like, oh, if something tells me I need to look at something, it's just going to be an ad, versus like, no, it's literally just like, here's the stuff that you have missed that you need to reply to. Yeah. So I know Mighty Networks is the way to go, but it is a paid service. You don't have to make your Mighty Network paid. Like, people come in for free if you wanted, but you have to pay to use Mighty Networks. And not that I'd be against that, but it was just like, I feel like it would have been so messy if we're like, we're going to start a Mighty Network here, and it's going to be a paid community. And then I'm going to start one here, and it's going to be free. And then ultimately I landed on like, well, if I want to have a community for my people, and half the people that come in through my stuff are also just interested in both of what we're doing, why do they need to go somewhere else? Let's just have that be the community that we're building. I feel like I'm doing all the talking, but I'm just
I'm waiting for you to finish.
I'm contextualizing, which is a thing I like to do. And I guess if you're looking at this kind of stuff, it might be helpful. So one thing that I wanted to add, which Mighty Networks, the thing I really love the most is, if you want to make a course, if you want to make a community, if you want to have a live cohort or something, it is an all-in-one place to do that. Like, you don't have to host your course here, do your live thing here, do community posts here. Like, it's all right there. And I have been wanting to add a community element to my course because it doesn't have one, and I didn't want to take the time to build that when it started, but now it's been up and running and people have gone through it. That's probably the most common question I get is there a community component? And I was like, oh yeah, it could just be through Mighty Networks. I can move my course over there and then just have a community thing. However, everybody who comes in through the course would by default go into the community that we're building, and it is largely two separate audiences. So you would have, it would just be like, it would sort of mess up the thing we're trying to build in a way. That was kind of the realization we had, right?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, and so that was like, I was like, okay, so to do my course, then I need to build a community somewhere else.
Got bit by a corgi down there.
It happens. Where is he? There he is.
Oh, it like bit my foot.
So fierce, the Korg. And so I was like, okay, what I had been looking up prior was Discord versus Gilded. It was David Foster, who's Impartial Geek. I believe he said we're doing a collab soon, so that's exciting. He's huge on Gilded, and he has like a Gilded server that has hundreds of people on it. It's crazy active. It's very similar to Discord, but I find it easier to use, and it has threaded discussions. In addition to your text channels like Discord, you can have forums where it's exactly like an old school message board. Here's a forum based on a topic, posts, searchable, all that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use this for sure. And David was even cool because he's like, yeah, I know the team that develops it. Like, I can just introduce you and they can really help you out. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I would really love to do that. But in the same way that learning message board, giving up on the idea of message boards because it's not relevant to the larger user group, I started looking up how to set up a Gilded server. And I do think Gilded overall seems to be kind of superior, but it's new and it's still very much focused on the gaming market. And if you look up, go to YouTube and type in how to set up Gilded server, you're going to get videos. I think the most viewed video I found had 15,000 views, which I know we always say it's not about views, but that was it. Most of them had under 1,000. Some had under 500. The reason I bring that up is because if you search how to set up a Discord server, 2 million views, 5 million views, 800,000 views, 200,000. Like, what that showed me was just the popularity of the platforms. And if you want people to join something, people probably already have a Discord account, or they're probably already part of a Discord server somewhere. And instead of making them sign up for something else, they just join the server. And it integrates natively with Patreon. So you can add it as a Patreon tier, and then literally it's just the person clicks and it directs them through this like secret passageway into your server right through there. And I was just like, that's the way to do it. Like, I know it doesn't have all the features I want, but that's the thing that's going to be usable for people. So that was ultimately what I went for. And I was like, I'm going to make one for my channel members and my Patreon people. So it's not just a public one, it's just for channel supporters. But since they are in two separate places, which is a topic for another day, I'll do my own podcast about that. That's a place where it can go together because a lot of the perks are the same. It's just like, did you prefer Patreon? Did you prefer YouTube? But now instead of feeling separate, it can all kind of like be one group right here. And that's cool. And then as doing that, I was like, well, I should do the thing for the course. And I was going to do Gilded because I was like, look, then I'll know Mighty Networks. Then I'll know Discord. Then I'll know Gilded. And I'll be able to like weave between them. And Heather was like, yeah, I think you should just use a Discord for your course.
Yeah.
I forget what your reason was, but you really like laid it out. I didn't even argue. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Well, I think for your course, you're not going to get like a huge volume of people. I don't anticipate there being like thousands of students.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what it was.
If there were, then great. Let's cross that bridge when we get there. But I don't think that our biggest issue with Discord is that you can jump in mid conversation, but I don't think that there's going to be too much, conversations happening. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be at that level. So if it's easy, then why complicate it?
So the thing I did, which I am proud of, is yesterday I had that idea. I took the server that I started 6 months ago, tweaked it, beefed it up more, figured some stuff out, launched that for channel memberships and Patreon, and then you can create server templates, which is cool. So I just created a template of that, modified it for the course, launched that. So by noon yesterday, both things were like up and running and going, which is very, very cool. And now I've actually been like having a ton of fun just hanging out on them throughout the day. So,
yeah.
So those are cool. And that's like a casual, I just sort of came to terms with like, that's not open to everybody because I just don't want random people showing up and like, I just don't want that. And so it is only open to a select few people who like support the channel in some way, but it's not as focused of a thing. Maybe, well, it's not as like the Mighty Network we're building where people are paying a monthly fee to be part of a community and there's goals and there's like feedback and like real engagement. I was going to say the course Discord is a little more like that because it's support, but not nearly on the same level. So just understanding, it's just like social media. Like there's different platforms that have different purposes and trying to figure out not only what you want to use, but what your audience or your community is going to want to use. And so yeah, I think that's literally as condensed as I can make that very exciting story.
Yay! I didn't know how to interject there.
I know, I'm sorry, but
That's okay. You
that
do
was-
you, boo boo.
but it's our show, and I spent 15 minutes just monologuing.
You gotta let it out. That's fine. So here's my thing.
Yeah.
So communities. We've talked about community a lot.
I've heard about it.
And in the past year, I would say I've been really kind of redefining what community is, especially online community. And you started this whole conversation with like, the relationships that you can build with internet people and our internet friends and people that we're never going to meet in real life. And I think that when someone becomes a content creator, a YouTube creator, or, an online business owner, I think it's very much product focused first, where it's like, here are the YouTube videos that I'm going to make, or here's the online course that I'm going to sell, or here's here's the thing that is going to be like the exchange for, I don't know, attention or whatever. And, I think that when we think of the word online community, there is a perception that we all think of. But what I have been trying to do, especially in the past couple months here, is like, what is it that I want to do or create or achieve? And I think what's cool about this specific group of people, I'll call them, right? The people who check in, the regulars, you guys who are here, our, clients, customers, subscribers, patrons, this group of people here, is that there's very much a network, right? So it's not just like, hey, I'm part of someone's YouTube community because I support them. They're my favorite creator. Here's an occasional $5 because I just want you to keep creating content. It's still a very one-sided conversation. But what's cool, like what I didn't, what I didn't realize was possible was that not only could a community be two-way between a viewer and a creator, but also the viewers amongst the viewers, like in a very real way. And I can't tell you how many people have said, meeting so or someone else in the mastermind or whatever has really helped me level things up, or, that feedback was very helpful. And just thinking about what I can create and what I want to build, it's not just about bringing people together, but because I'm not interested in creating some kind of like fan thing. I think that we've tried, like we've had a couples table. I wouldn't say that was like fan thing, but we've created a space where it's like, if you like our content, hang out here. But like, I'm not really interested in just hanging out. I would rather like be productive. Right. Yeah. Like I want there to be a purpose. I want us to get better and like work towards something. And I think that's why a platform like, say, Patreon is just not suited to me, because I don't want to make extra content for people who are paying $10 or $5 or something. I would rather bring people together and foster the interaction amongst them, which is such a fun puzzle to try to crack when everyone lives across the world. Like, I love this. I loved like coming up with ideas and, now that we are bringing people into our Mighty Network, I'm just like, oh my God, I can't wait. We're going to, like one of the ideas I have is doing some kind of, like, I was going to say award show, but that's probably not, that probably sounds worse than I'm thinking, but like, I want to
recognition.
Yeah. Like, I want to do like recognition of like someone who had, the best like vlog of the year, or like someone in the community who had the best podcast episode, and it's like totally community supported or voted or something like that, just so that like, we may never get to the streamies or something, but we can at least like be proud of the work that is coming out of this community. I have icebreakers, I have hot seats, ideas and stuff like that. And I think what's cool about Discord, Gilded, Mighty Networks, whatever, is that all of these platforms, regardless of what you use, kind of can help, these are tools to help you achieve whatever it is that you want to do with a group of people. But the thing that I am really coming to realize, and I'm already convinced, but I guess in the next month we'll really tell when we open up our Just Create More Mighty Network to the public, is that creating a community, not just a fan community, not just I'm a, I'm a fan. So if I see you wearing an Aquabat shirt, we have like a shared camaraderie. Taking it a step further of like, you are working towards this goal. You understand the struggles that I'm going through. We can support each other in a very unique way. That's the thing that I feel like is such a valuable thing that I would like to create. Like, that's what I'm passionate about creating. And I want anyone who wants to be a part of it to be able to have access to that. And I just want to make it my mission to like make this the best community that it can be in terms of like what it is that we're all trying to achieve together. And that brings me to the whole like point of why even build a community in the first place is, you know, I think that yes, you can enter a content creation world and just think of a one-sided, here are the videos I'm going to make, here's the online course that I'm going to sell. But there's also a really cool, like, you can make a club, you know, you can make a networking group, you know, I think this is why CrossFit was so successful. It's like you just bring people together that are on some mission, and you put them through uncomfortable situations. They grow together. They are, you know, it's obviously it's like so much, it's more fun to do things together, but it's so interesting to do it together with people who you're never going to meet in real life. Like, that's the part that I'm just like, I can't wait to see where this goes in like 6 months, a year, and just like keep going. And to sum up the whole conversation in terms of the title, I think that Mighty Networks is like, it's so far the best one that I've seen that's able to do this, because Discord is like, you know, it really is more of like a place to hang out, like jump into the conversation, hang out. There's various ways that you guys can hang out together through video chats and polls and, you know, all these like fun bots and stuff. But like in terms of tracking progress and like setting events and mastermind type of, you know, meeting of the minds kinds of things, that's where I think that Mighty Networks really is optimized for. So
and kind of like I was saying, not that it's like all about revenue and stuff, but if you're offering multiple things, so you have, here's a community, but like Heather was just describing, but then you want to offer a course, then you want to offer a mastermind, then you want to offer a higher, like multiple things, instead of every time there's a new thing, like, okay, if you're interested in this, now you go over here and you create a thing and you sign up and you do this. Mighty Networks is good at putting all that in one place. Like, we use the buffet example, like, or the cruise ship example, like you get your ticket to go on the ship, and that's the basic community, and then you can hang out on that cruise and do whatever you want. And if you want to like jump into something else, if it's available, you can do that if you want, but you don't, there's not a pressure. But if you choose to do that and you're one of those people who's involved in all the different things, it's all localized in one spot, and that lets you still like focus. It lets you just be more interactive, and I don't know, I like it a lot. I think that works like incredibly well, especially if you are somebody who wants to offer more than one thing. Again, not even for revenue, but just different purposes. Like, the base community has specific goals and motivation, but the mastermind is a different step. And, you know, a course is a different thing too, because that's more self-paced with support. It's, you know, it's all flipped, and you can do stuff like, you could do productive things like that on a Discord or a Guilded or whatever. But having that other side of it built in, I think, is like everything just all in one spot is really valuable.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would just add to this conversation, because we share our experience with how we are running our, you know, brands, our online brands, but like, you don't think that you need to make a community. If it's not something you want to do,
no.
if it's not part of your brand, you want to make videos or, you know, write blog posts or do a podcast, like, just do that. You totally don't have to. Don't do what I did and make a Patreon that ends up dying. You know, like God, that was such a nightmare. I had like one person at the $100 a month level, and then I had like a bunch of people at the $1 level, and then a couple people at the $10, and a couple people at the $20, and then just to wrap my head around like all the different tiers, and then like I had to put the same amount of effort into everything, even though there's only one person at the $20 tier. It's just like I'm not equipped for.
That's a lot.
Like, content creation is not the thing that I'm trying to do. It's a means to an end. And for me personally, like, my thing is bringing people together to do something like for a shared purpose, right? Like for a shared goal. So if that's like suited to your goals, to your content, to your strengths, like to what you're trying to do, I think that there's a real opportunity to create a platform for that with whatever tool you feel comfortable with. Bop, bop, bop. I don't know what
that was. Mihal's here, and he said the big difference with Discord is that when you join a Discord server, you automatically get your own Discord server with your user ID, so it's a very viral platform. Very true, because I noticed that the first time I ever joined one, it was like, oh, I could now, at literally the click of a button, create my own. And Discord recently, at least since I use it, implemented a thing where you can gear it more towards a community rather than just like a chat thing. So like you can set, like it's a setting in there, like enable community options, enable this. So I know they're working towards it, but yeah, the virality of Discord for a more casual community, I think, is a very big benefit. And that's really what I wanted, was like, not a fan thing. Like, why don't you guys just come and tell me how great the stuff I do is? But like to literally, you know, when we do live streams, we have these chats, and sometimes they get really, really fun, but the stream can really, we're not Peter Greg. We can't go for 7 hours. Like, sometimes we need to go be people, and it's nice to be able to, like, I can just pull out my phone and just like, boop, boop, like make a quick joke or something. And that's where something like Discord's really great, is getting to know the people that are interested in what you do, but getting to know them on a different level, I guess. I hope that makes sense. And Bailey, he said, thank you for donation to your Kickstarter. It's greatly appreciated. I wanted to put this up here not to boast about donating to your Kickstarter, but to let people know that you have one. And if you want to add any info in the chat, feel free to do that. Bailey and some friends are working on a short film, and they're raising some money to do that. They have a very modest goal that I'm sure they're going to hit if they haven't hit already, but it's a really fun project, and I would definitely recommend checking that out. Megan said Discord is definitely a lot, but it's got some great third-party tools that work really well. That's what I'm discovering, and I know I'm just scratching the surface of it. And yeah, but Bailey also said, don't worry, I'm also confused by Discord. Kathy's here. I'm going to catch up on the replay. But teacher interviews are a thing. She's doing interviews. I remember interviewing for my first, the first official teacher job that I actually got, which was, it sounds like you're doing things better, because this was 3 days before the school year started or whatever. And I remember going in for the interview. I of course wanted the position. This was ages ago. We were like in the recession and there were no jobs anywhere. And I went in for my interview, thought I did a really good job. There were like 5 people on the interview panel, and then later that day I got a call from the principal who was like, we'd like to offer you the position. And I was very happy about that. But then he said it was a 3-2 vote. And I was like, don't tell me that. Like, I just wanted to know everyone loved everything about me and said, yeah, but now I know those 5 people because I'm going to have to work with them. And I know 2 of them said thumbs down. So that's, and I literally spent the next 5 years at every meeting wondering, like, I wonder who
was it you?
Was it you? Because we're kind of friends now, but did you give me a thumbs down at first? Anyway. Peter's here from Miami.
Hello, Peter.
Hello. Hope you're doing well over there. Looking forward to your stream tomorrow. And Jessica said she's used Discord for the past 3 years. The search options are pretty robust, and it's definitely possible to customize your experience in a Discord server. Very versatile app. That's what I'm learning. It was one of those things where I had a positive experience with being in a Discord server years ago, but that was kind of it. And it just felt overwhelming, but I really legitimately feel like it's something that I'm missing out on. It's something I should be more familiar with than I am. Like, I actually want to. It's not like, oh, I have to do this thing. And so I figure I'm going to sneeze. Now a better time than any. I'm going to let you handle the next helmet while Excuse me.
Bless you. Fantastic. What's up? You guys already have an amazing community platforms or just platforms?
Yeah, it is, but we want it to be...
Yeah, but see, so yes, this is very true. But then this is why I wish that there were a different word than community, because I'm not, when I say community, I'm not describing like the fan base. Yeah, like, of course you guys are awesome, but
you're almost saying like a cohort, like a collective of...
There you go.
Yeah, that's what, because that is different. Like, if you go to the Discords that I have set up, you can talk about stuff like there's a video production channel, so you go in and be like, hey, like, I'm
like
working
committed people.
You could ask a question. I'm working with Premiere on an M1 Mac. It's not working well. What
Yeah.
settings should I use? And people can help out. But you could also just be like, hey, what's up? I'm doing this. I mean, this for it can just be a hangout.
I mean, literally...
it's sort of flipped, I guess. So when you were talking, I was thinking like, in general, the Discord stuff can be very casual with like a few focus things, generally speaking. Whereas the Mighty Network is like, we're really focused on this. And like, there's little outlets for like getting to know each other as people, because that's a very important part of like relationship building. But the goal is like, we're here for a purpose. Like, we're dedicating our time for a really specific reason.
Yeah, it's your goal first, and then we that's the primary reason. And I guess the reason why I think it's worth talking about again is because like I think when we talk about YouTube monetization and monetizing as a content creator, we hear like, oh yeah, start a community, start a Patreon, start a Discord, but like I haven't seen it done in this way.
Right.
Which is why, like, the whole thing is, okay, you have, if you don't know how it's been done, then how would you do it? And who's the best, like, dynamic duo to, like, do stuff
Finley
that's
and
like... do you guys watch Our Wedding? It's totally different.
Yeah, it was. I was going to say also...
What were you going to say, Tom?
You are... After you quit your job, you became a big fan of co-working spaces, especially
yes,
for a while.
Did.
And it kind of the vibe of the more focused community sort of reminds me of that. At the co-working space, obviously everyone can be doing different things, but you're surrounded by people who are all like, they're not there to just hang out.
I would have loved to work at a co-working space where you're organizing the educational events and like you're like concierge, making sure that everyone's having a great time and has everything they need, and then you're also connecting everybody because you heard that someone has this need and then someone has this like service.
You mean you would have been
something.
like a facilitator at a co-working space?
Like actually working at the front desk. I would have been a rock star like that. That's how I
You love those jobs.
Up, which is why I'm excited to, I can't wait to see where our, I don't know what to call it,
cohort,
community, just create more network, whatever. Gang. Yeah, gang.
Street
to see
gang.
where it goes like 6 months, a year from now.
I think it's gonna be really fun, and if you're
maybe it'll just be me and you at the end.
A lot of people who are here right now have already filled out their like the initial application that we had posted
which
a while ago.
we're sending invites out tomorrow.
Yeah, so if you were in that initial wave, check your email tomorrow, and you should get an invite to join. Which, of course, again, is no obligation. If you fill out the thing and you get it, and you're like, oh, but I don't know if I.
Yeah, like totally don't join.
It's fine, but at least you'll have the info. Those invites for the people who signed up earlier going out tomorrow. And then next week, actually a week from today, is when we're gonna open it up for
launch
for everybody. But there's still like there is an approval process. So even if you're like, yeah, I want to do it, we still want to make sure it is the right people. Which mainly just means it's not that I'm judging this goal, but if you're the person who's just like, I just want to get as many subscribers as possible. I don't like this is just not the place for that. So. We want to just do a quick screening of everyone to make sure like basic goals are in line, that it's going to be beneficial for you, and that you as an addition are going to benefit the community that's already there. Our mastermind's already been floating around in there for the past week or so, and it's been really fun, and that's been giving us a chance to also learn how things work with people in it, and it is super fun. So yeah, I've genuinely been liking it.
Feels like we have our own app.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Cool.
I like it a lot. And even the other day when I was doing all these community things and I was going to do my course community through Mighty Networks, which I ended up not doing, I moved my whole course to Mighty Networks, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And then halfway through that, we realized, oh, no, this wouldn't be the way to do it. So that was a couple hours of work for nothing. But it was really fun because Heather did a lot of the like heavy lifting for putting everything together. And then I kind of like filled in the blanks, but this was like
now
putting that together. I built a thing in there, and I was like, oh, this is actually super cool.
Yeah,
I really like it, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And you're interviewing Gina from Mighty Networks.
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't forget Gina. I didn't forget.
She's been super excited. So
yeah,
I know you're watching this because there's nothing else to do in the middle of the work week. CEO of company.
Yeah. So the CEO of Mighty Networks. Which, by the way, this is not the reason why we're super into Mighty Networks. This all
this is after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's gonna be my next guest on From 1 to 100. So we're gonna be talking about basically exactly this. And the thing that I really want to ask her is like, okay, obviously you are a burgeoning company, especially in the past year. A lot of people are signing up and creating mighty networks, and I'm curious about the trend of that. Like, you know, are they paid communities? How much, you know, like what kind of communities are there? How are other people using this platform? You know, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I kind of anecdotally, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was telling Tom about this, but I saw an article on Twitter that was like, oh, there's been a decline in religion, and people have been needing to fill the void of the sense of community that they would have gotten from like going to church, right? And I think that, and maybe it's because like we couldn't, you know, people couldn't go to church last year, so you know they turned online to connect with people and to I don't know, express themselves and do stuff together. So like I'm just curious. Like that's what I want to ask her about. Obviously, I want to ask her about content creation, the passion economy, and stuff like that. So if you are interested in any of that stuff, definitely go check out my other channel, youtube.com/Heather Ramirez. We will go live on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to talk about all this stuff. So
with Gina from Mighty Networks, who's being very generous with her time.
Oh my gosh.
I had to wait to... Yeah. Peter said, you don't work for the man anymore. You're an entrepreneur. Lose that mindset. There was a question here. That's just a good reminder that I need.
Oh, here's Daniel.
Daniel Leone, the one and the only. Hello, my favorite couple. Do you think it's important to branch out in person to market your channel, such as a meet and greet, to talk about your content and get your brand out with stickers? Very interesting. We've both done versions of this and then not done versions of this. I'm curious what you think.
Do you think it's important to branch out in person to market your channel? So when it comes to marketing or promoting a YouTube channel, my professional opinion is that organic is best. And I don't mean like paid versus organic. I mean, if someone finds your channel and it's in line with something that is top of mind for them, whether that's like you're helping them achieve a goal, you're solving a problem for them, you are filling a void by helping them be entertained or making them laugh or something like that. If it's a active experience from the viewer first, not only would they become a subscriber, but they would be a loyal like fan, right? And I think there's a difference between an active fan versus someone who just subscribed because they saw your sticker on the street or something like that. Because the last thing that you want are people who are subscribing to your channel and not actually watching your videos.
Right.
It doesn't, like, who cares if you have like 20,000 subscribers and you're getting 100 views per video? It's like a really weird ratio.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also think that just in terms of where you can put your effort, it's like if you go to an event and there's 100 people there and you try to talk to them and hand out your card, how many of those 100 people are going to be interested in what you're doing versus YouTube's organic like ability to be a search engine to serve content to people.
To the right people.
It can probably find 100 people much more effectively than you can.
Because it'll be 100 of like the more people, the more right people. Yeah, the more right people. Wow.
The more right. And so so I would focus on making a channel that would appeal to a specific audience and putting your effort into that, and then letting the platform be able to serve that to an audience all around the world where you don't have to be there in person.
I'm sorry, I just saw this when I was talking about religion.
Oh, normalizing atheists that she ain't lying.
That's funny.
Bailey said, time flies. Almost been going for 40 minutes. I know, we can just talk and talk. We should have podcasts and stuff. Dr. Sev is here, just asking on the Creator Mastermind about QR codes to promote our channels at events, trying to force my family to subscribe. I mean, I'm not saying never do that, but it depends on what you want. Like, would your family get value? Do you want them to have it? Would there be people in real life that would do it? And sometimes it's just fun. Like, I remember I've had stickers for channels before, and when we were in Switzerland 3 years ago, there was like a big thing at the top of a mountain that had stickers on it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm putting my sticker here. Well, not because the perfect subscriber is going to walk by and be like, oh, while I'm also here, now let me subscribe. But it was just like, yeah.
Let me tell you what like young YouTube Heather would do. She would like oh my god, I remember
This
the
isn't
first
hypothetical. This is what actually happened.
yeah. So first time I went to VidCon, I went to I don't know Kinko's or whatever, and I printed out 1,000 business cards that had my YouTube channel on it, and like every VidCon room I went into, I just left a stack. Like boom, I put one on like every chair. I would like as soon as I met someone, I was like here, you know. I don't even know how, you know, I don't know what the conversion was on that. Yeah. I'm going to guess it was like real low.
and which is funny because that is a setting where people are clearly all into YouTube and online video, and it's still not effective.
Yeah. And then like, you know, I take pride in being a very active community networking person. Mm-hmm. And I always have been that. And even locally, like they're just not everyone I meet in person wants to make a YouTube channel, you know, and that's fine, but I don't want you to subscribe just to get the number up, because the number isn't that the number of subscribers says nothing about the amount of watch time that's actually happening,
which is the more important.
And that's the more important thing.
Yeah, there is a thing though when it comes to that I think goes beyond the you building an audience by doing that, and it's you taking ownership of what you're doing. Because I remember, I think my channel was getting close to 1,000, which was a very ridiculous goal, and I used to be part of an advisory committee when I was teaching, where it was teachers and business people in certain industry sectors from all over our local region would meet like once a month, and sort of like the teachers would explain this is what we're doing in our program. The business people would say this is what we're doing. And that's where you would find like internship opportunities, collaborations, plan events, stuff like that. And it always starts with a round table where everyone has to introduce themselves because it's a little different. I remember there was one time where very specifically, and some of my old coworkers from my previous school were there too. And I was like, oh, you know what? At this point, I'm committed to my YouTube channel is a thing that I do.
Yeah, do.
And so I remember saying like, my name's Tom. I teach at this program and I do this and blah, 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 blah. And I also run a YouTube channel where I, you know, talk about audio, video, tech. And I remember just throwing it into my, like, who are you and what do you do? Like, it wasn't just my goofy hobby on the side, but it was like, this is actually a part of my professional identity. That was a big deal. Not that I cared that anyone there would actually even find the channel or look at it, but just taking the ownership of it in a face-to-face situation was a big step on the creator journey. Because
here's another thing. Like my bestest friends in life don't watch my YouTube channel. Like, and I'm totally, you know, I take no offense to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why when it comes to like, I see sometimes people on my Facebook will post their YouTube channel, and I'm just like,
I mean, if anything, I would actively avoid it.
Yeah, because like, isn't the whole point of specifically being on YouTube to reach beyond your network, right? Like Facebook is a place where you're connecting with people that you already know. So, you know, I think with Facebook groups, it's starting to branch beyond that, but still like YouTube opens up the world. Like you have literally everyone here. We have multiple countries in the chat. And I think that, yeah, you know, connecting with your, and it depends also, because if you have an existing network that like, you know, your YouTube channel is an extension of what you're already known for, then yeah, obviously leverage your current connections. But like if you know, like Tom's Facebook group wasn't necessarily going to be interested in audio video.
Yeah. How do I like start a podcast?
Yeah.
What I was
unless
thinking,
Grandma Buck's coming out with a podcast, which I would totally love.
I would love that too. What is funny though is speaking of taking ownership in person, I remember, especially I'm thinking of when I get haircuts, because that's when it's always just small talk of like, what do you do? Are you working today? Like
I know.
And teaching, I had gone through just hundreds of times. So what do you do? I'm a teacher. What do you teach? Or what grades do you teach? I teach high school. I do all the grades 9 through 12. What do you teach? Well, I teach digital media. Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, it is. I bet that's the class kids actually do want to go to. Yeah, it's really cool. You know, it's I'm really lucky.
Same conversation.
I mean, I could literally be thinking of something else and having a conversation. But there was that nice thing of like, as soon as I said I was a teacher, people already like knew the basics of what that meant, and then I could fill in the gaps as much as I wanted. I could say like, yeah, I just do media and stuff. And if I was really into it, or they thought the person was into it, then I could dive in and go like, yeah, it's a 4-year program, blah, blah, blah. But now it's been like, so what do you do? And it's like, I always just freeze up and I'm like, and then sometimes I'm like,
Yeah, like
I do YouTube.
Someone at the gym asked us like, "Oh, what's your YouTube channel about?" And I was like,
you know what the scariest question in real life is? What's your channel? Let me look it up. You don't have to do that right here.
Why? Yours is so easy.
I know it. It's
my
not...
YouTube channel is about AV stuff.
I know.
Audio, video. Level up your one-person production.
It's when they want to look it up.
What, youtube.com/Tom Buck?
It's when they pull it up and you're right there, like and you're like,
dude, own it.
I am not there yet. Not there yet. That's really funny though. Oh look, Mihal's saying, what I love about the Mighty Network. Oh, I'm just starring. That's not it.
Yeah. I got you, babe.
This is why we have two input devices. Is that it's a one central resource, hate falling fragmented threads. Yeah, that's very, very, very tough.
I mean, we're still going to be fragmented, but it's like, I don't anticipate a lot of overlap. Actually, I don't know. We'll see.
James and Mark said, I gave a business card to the Roadrunner server, which is a local restaurant here. Do you think she even checked out her channel?
Honestly, I don't know.
It is the food industry, so maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's really funny. And Bailey has a great question. What application/website would you recommend for a webinar?
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, because you're the... okay, well, I've done one webinar and I did it as an unlisted YouTube stream. So I had promoted it, and then when the time came, I sent out that stream to the email list of people, and that's how we did it.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
And
unlisted YouTube video.
You could potentially do Zoom, but YouTube
unlisted live stream.
YouTube is just such a better interface than Zoom.
Well, Zoom you have to pay.
Oh, to do the webinar thing, huh? Yeah. So I would just do it on
because, like, otherwise, Zoom is like you would be in the same room with people, which you don't want, right?
And if you don't even, I mean, if you just wanted it to be public, you could even do a public stream, but you might want a moderator or something in there.
Yeah.
Dr. Sev said, I post my YouTube all the time. I guess for me, it's more than YouTube because I'm using it to build my coaching speaking business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
right. Dr. Sev, you're totally like the exception to the rule. Like, it makes sense for you to do that because, like I said, you're leveraging your existing network, so that makes sense.
Investors are like, Grandma
Buck is like an actual person. She's like awesome.
She's in her 80s doing swing dancing. She's good. And John's here, Coffee Talking Tech. I did want to bring up. I was hesitant to bring this up because I don't. But I would feel wrong for not bringing it up. A very big push why this week specifically, in addition to us just working on our Mighty Network, but why I was suddenly like community was because of what happened with Jake, our good YouTube friend, early this week, which I'm sure most people here know. Jake Galvan, who was oftentimes in the chat here, was in our YouTube mastermind, was always all over our channels, was in the eCam Facebook groups. Lots of you guys are friends with him. He passed away on Monday from COVID complications, and that was wildly unexpected. Heather did a whole 15-minute video, so I'm trying not to go down the like sadness funnel of that. But obviously we really cared about Jake, really missed Jake, and one of the biggest things, I think what naturally happens when things like that occur is you're like trying to, well, what's the lesson and what's the whatever? And instead of just going like, it actually just kind of sucks and is terrible. And I would prefer that it didn't happen, the end, which is probably the actual truth. But it's the thing that it pointed out, at least, was how valuable and impactful the connections and the relationships you build with people online can really be. And I think that's not as shocking as it would have been 10 or 20 years ago. You know, like it used to be weird if a couple met on the internet, and now it's like completely normal. It's almost like quaint when a couple doesn't meet. You're like, oh, you met like old fashioned way.
Yeah, because how else do you meet people? I don't know.
Yeah, so I like, stuff has changed, but a big thing too, and a thing especially in our relationship with Jake, who we only knew online, was since he was an audio video guy, every time you talk to him, he's in crystal clear 4K. He's in super crisp audio. He can share his screen and do this. It's one step away from what it's like to be in person with someone when they're like, hey, I'm doing this. Look at this thing on my phone. Well, it's not that different, honestly. And so you can build those connections in a different way than before. But even beyond that, and Luis, you're here. I talked about you on my podcast this week a lot. I hope that's okay. But I use Luis as an example of someone who we met officially in Peter Gregg's live stream, but prior to that, like, Luis had been on my channel live streams, but I wasn't really even aware of it. And so the things you say and you do can affect people without you ever even knowing it. It can give them an idea, give them a motivation, whatever, spark something, and then that can affect something. And it can be really, really impactful. And it's very cliche to say, like, oh, it's not about numbers, it's not about numbers. But it really isn't. You know, it's fun when the numbers go up, but every little like tick of a number, every little view count that pops up here is an entire person, and you have no idea what the thing that you're making could affect and what that could turn into. I mean, I left just a comment on your YouTube channel, and now we're married. So like, you just never really know. And Jake was such a good highlight of that, because he just sort of showed up into worlds and just started exploring it, and his enthusiasm for all of it was not only infectious for like everyone around him, but also led him to become parts of all these groups. He quickly became like an integral member of the eCam Facebook group and all that stuff. And it really just made me feel like that's a very valuable thing that goes beyond like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it really is. I had been doing this before, and this just made me even more so. Like, I'd been trying to go back to when I reply to comments, really, which takes a lot more time. Like, actually, I wrote a comment that was like this long, like an instructional process to someone, because I was like, you know what? This is a chance to connect with a person, possibly help somebody out, possibly build a relationship. Maybe they'll watch the next video, add a comment. You never know. That person can end up being in the mastermind in 3 months. Like, you know, we've met Rob, who's not here. I don't know where Rob is. He's probably working. He should be watching us on his second screen or whatever.
I think he was here.
But, you know, you do sometimes then get to meet, and you never know, I guess I should say. And this has been a reminder of that. So even at the casual, fun Discord level, that's where it was like, I want to make sure that I'm not throwing away the opportunity I have to connect with people who are excited about the same stuff I'm connected with. It just happens to be that the stuff I'm making is the
gateway.
Yeah. The pillar that it's built around, but it's not a hierarchy or anything like that. And that has been hugely important, and especially when you can get so caught up in like, well, the algorithm hates me and this, that, which is, I have a very not pleasant relationship with the YouTube algorithm over the past few months, but also it's amazing. And I would much rather focus on that and focus on how incredible it is versus complaining about this, that, or the other little metric or whatever.
Yeah. And the other thing that struck me about Jake was that I think it was very evident that this was someone who always had a YouTube channel, but never really made content. You know, it's like you're just the lurker, right? Like the casual viewer. And then when he was like, okay, I'm going to do this, he just dove in to the point where it's like, wow, you're spending a lot of time. Like, I could just imagine in his real life, it's like, oh, you're spending all this time with these people that are just on the internet, and your whole world has shifted to like, you're having conversations with your wife so that she can take care of like household duties and childhood duties, so that you can focus on YouTube, all because of a live stream conversation that we had. And like, I think that's really, you know, I've always wanted to do this, but, you know, obviously after Jake, that really solidified, like, if us not even really trying made that kind of impact on his personal life, where like literally not just his YouTube goals, but him in the classroom and communication and like the impact that he would have made through YouTube. Like, I want to create the platform where more people could do that. And I know that what's missing from the YouTube resources that exist now is not just community, but like the cohort type community. Experience. Yeah, the shared experience of like I just think CrossFit, like the digital CrossFit community, where it's like, okay, here's us working on something together. You're not doing it alone. You have guides who've like gone on before you, who are literally here to help you.
Well, there have been proven like research studies into shared experience stuff, everything from like high school and college, and or even like being in the military and going through combat together, but you're thrown together with a group of people who on the surface you might not even have a lot in common with, but
there's a bond there.
But because, yeah, you see each other, you interact regularly, and you have a shared experience. Maybe it's a class. You meet a group of people, you're from all over, you don't really see it, but you go through this class for a semester, and suddenly by the end of it, you know each other really well, you've hung out a few times, you have inside jokes because the professor smelled weird or whatever, and now, like, that is your friend group, at least for the next 4 years of college or something, and then potentially, like, the rest of your life.
Because, like, I think the thing that people don't realize when it comes to content creation is, like, the whole point of it is to do this forever, isn't it? Like, it's not like, oh, you cross the threshold and things get easier. Like, you know, if this could be your full-time thing. This could be, you know, opening up the doors to you writing that book that you've always wanted to make, or, you know, now you are a consultant or something. Like, it can.
I mean, look at like Doc Rock. We've been talking about people who aren't here, but you know, he told the thing on one of his live streams yesterday that was last year where he was like, I want to be more involved in these groups, and he kicked himself into gear to do that, and now he literally works for eCam.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't do that at the time. He just became somebody who was not only using it and excited about it, but he became a pillar of that community where even like eCam couldn't ignore it. Was like, can you just be our community manager because you're doing it so much better than we could? And now, and that wasn't the goal. The goal wasn't like, well, I'm going to get a job with this software company. It just, you really just don't know on every level what could open up by putting yourself and your work out there and your creativity out there and stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think Jake was a really good example of that, and I'm trying to just keep that in mind as much as possible.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't signed up for our network, we are launching to the public next Friday. So not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Everyone else, if you've already filled out the application, we're going to be sending you your invites tomorrow. So be very excited for that. And then also, one of my fun ideas, okay, so everyone who signs up in like the next 3 months, here's your disclaimer that like this is very much an experimentation phase. I think we've hammered it home. You understand like where we're sailing towards, but like we're just gonna experiment
Definitely laying
here.
down the track as the train is going.
And then one of the things that we're gonna do is a new member welcome party. So I'm excited. We're gonna have a Zoom call where it's not just you guys looking at us, but you jump on Zoom too. We want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
We want to see you and talk and chat and hang out and get to know each other and do icebreakers and fun stuff. So I'm just so excited. And you know, oh yeah, one of the things that I was going to add to that was I don't know if James and Mark is still here, but like we started YouTube in the same year. Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot more research on YouTube than he was, and so a lot of the questions that he had, he would ask me, and it was always like we would always say to each other like, I don't know who else to ask. Like
right.
we literally don't know anyone else who's doing YouTube, and I think that whenever you're doing a new endeavor, it's always great to not only have a mentor, but to have a peer, someone else who's doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, and legitimately, at least for me, in the selfish way, like I want to build the community that I want to be a part of that isn't. Totally
we want friends.
Yeah. Coffee Talking Tech said, "Wait, I just left a comment on Camera Junkie's channel. Sorry, I'm already married." And Patrick popped up and said, "The Vimeo algorithm doesn't exist." That's true. If you want your videos to look their best, put them on Vimeo. If you want people to watch them, put them on YouTube. And Bailey said the first video I ever hit the like button on was one of mine. Now it's addictive.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Heather's was the first one I left a comment on. And now, legitimately, that is a thing that I actively do when watching a video. If I have a positive thought about it, I
always try to leave a comment.
Mm-hmm. Because it does make a difference. Daniel said, what do you think is the best algorithm out there? Personally, Spotify is always... Spotify, I have a love-hate relationship with because I do not like their approach to podcasting. I'll leave it at that. Their algorithm, though, is amazing. Like the daily mix, and it's even like daily mix 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, but that's so different. Like
that's a different
curating music versus curating user-generated content.
But let me tell you though, Apple Music not nearly as good because I wanted to make the leap to Apple Music because the quality is way better, and it's not Spotify.
I'm still a fan of Pandora.
I forgot about Pandora. That was like the first streaming service I used. But
Yeah.
Spotify, like their stuff is too good. Their playlists are really too good. And it's a different algorithm, but it's good. There's people who rave about the TikTok algorithm. I could not get that thing to work for me at all. So I think a lot of it depends on who you are and what you're searching up. Dr. Elo said, very pumped for the new community. Yes. I'm excited for that too. And James still here, still learning. I just learned how to do a community poll from Heather like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I just learned how to do it like that morning. So
yeah, and honestly, we're always watching your guys' streams and like getting ideas. Oh, look, they always ask people where they're from and how they found and all this kind of stuff. Aubrey showing up with some real valuable nuggets here. Says, gratitude. I make sure to tell people how I feel about them. At least write one thank you note a day.
Yes,
that's a big one. Just letting people know. That's like such a cliche thing. Like, I remember last year, somebody posted a thing. I think it was on Twitter, and it was like 2 pictures of a phone, and one of them said, it was like the incoming call screen, and one of them said mom, and the other one said dad, and it said, if you still get phone calls from both of these numbers, just consider yourself lucky. And I know there's a lot of very complicated, relationships out there where that might not be the case, but little things like that are pretty big. I mean, even at night, like, we hang out together all day, you, me, and the dogs. We say I love you many times throughout the day, but we always make sure right before bed that there's another I love you. Say I love you to the dog, so that way the day ends, and that's very important.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Anyway.
Oh, he's tearing up.
No, I'm not. It's just camera lens.
Fan of Pandora, do you still use MySpace, Friendster, Zynga?
I kind of wish MySpace was still a thing. I need to brush up on my HTML skills.
Oh my god. I remember having to learn that.
Difficult to read text as my, remember changing your song, that little player that would be there? The music player.
I don't remember that.
Oh my, because you could put a little music player on your MySpace page and it would play a song and it would be like, curating your MySpace page was such a friggin' fun thing. Yeah, so
there you go.
And look, Jessica said she's enjoying Pandora because all I gotta do is listen to an ad and I can listen to an album in full.
I just listen to music on YouTube.
Oh, I mean there is literally YouTube music.
I
also
just
is a
put
thing.
it on repeat.
Yeah, MySpace. You know what's funny with MySpace? Like, speaking of being a teacher, when I started teaching, MySpace was done by the time I started teaching. But when I started it, I could make jokes about MySpace, and my students remembered it from having their MySpace accounts. So I think, yeah, because they were born in like the early 90s at that point. So they had MySpace, at least in elementary school, middle school. And then it transitioned a few years later.
Early 90s?
When I started teaching, they were born in the early 90s. Everybody was named Jasmine from Aladdin. I had like 8
when
Jasmines
you started.
per class when I started teaching.
What? They would be like 5 years younger than you.
Well, I was 25 and they were 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much what happened. But it was funny because then it transitioned to when I would make MySpace jokes. My students had never used MySpace, but they like had older siblings that did, so they were aware of it, and they would want to like prove that they knew what I was talking about. Like, oh yeah, MySpace, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
like,
in the know.
I know. And by the time I left teaching, if I made a MySpace joke, kids just didn't. They were like, "What is that?" They weren't even curious at all. So that's where we're at now.
So I guess there was no space for MySpace any longer.
I didn't know that's the one you were doing.
Wait, which one did you do?
I did the sad trombone.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Bailey's gonna start his day with a thank you. Thank you so much. Because it's your morning right now. Thank you so much, everyone here, and Heather and Tom. You guys are super encouraging, and I learned so much. That is awesome. Wonderful community.
You're very welcome, Bailey, and we are thankful for you too.
Always a joy. Something that increasingly happened is how customization for social media decreased. Yes, the only way to do it on most apps is either paid or non-existent. Yeah, you can have a new banner image. You can't get into the HTML. JFK says, thanks, Tom. Now I'm stuck trying to understand why I come to this podcast by a married couple when I default to being a lone wolf style. It's just, we're the couple. You don't have to be part of a couple.
Yeah.
Tom was my first friend on MySpace. You know how much of a thing... Let me tell you, in 2006, what's your name? I'm Tom. MySpace Tom? That was MySpace Tom? It was literally like dozens of times a week I would hear that.
MySpace
I have not
Tom?
heard that in years. Which that guy is living his absolute best life, by the way.
This is funny.
In 1982, everybody was Andrew. Every girl in Southern California was Jasmine. Spelled different ways, which is very fun as a teacher. Are you Jasmine with an E? Jasmine with a Z? Jasmine with 2 S's for some reason? Jasmine with a Y? But there's 8 of you in my class, and that's fun.
I propose to play Punderdome on a Futures Couples table. I agree. Okay, so here was my idea. There's a game called Punderdome that I got Tom, and I wanted it to be Tom versus the audience. So in 2 minutes... There's Team Tom. It's just going to be him versus Team Audience.
Team Table.
Who can come up with the best pun?
Punderdome's weird. That'd be fun because Punderdome is like...
So...
kind of like...
strange.
Yeah, it's sort of like... This sounds like a joke, but like you're saying it like it's a joke,
will be
but
the
I don't
judge.
think it's a joke, which is very funny.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here, Kevin. I've been a silent observer for a while, but I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge how much you both have impacted my commitment to my ideas and creativity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for breaking your silence. That means,
I know.
And that I know we were joking about like the ska podcast earlier, but this kind of stuff means a lot. Like that is a podcast that kind of started half as a joke. And obviously it's brand new, and other than my little channel's like outlets here, I'm not really promoting it. So it's not getting a ton of listens, but I've already gotten messages and emails from people literally even sending me pictures and stuff about what their ska fan journeys were and that sort of thing. And immediately as soon as I saw that, I was like, done.
Also,
Absolutely
if you are regular and you're a lurker, like you just haven't said hi for whatever reason,
say hi.
Yeah, jump in. We'd love to get to know you.
We're going to completely insult you and make fun of you. I'm just kidding.
Make your YouTube account, because I know there's some people here who don't have YouTube accounts for whatever reason. But hang out in the chat and, I don't know, introduce yourself. It's a fun group. Obviously, you tune in every week.
Megan said, my mom made my teachers' lives tough with my spelling.
Oh, yeah.
That was, let me just tell you,
Megan.
Being named Tom and having a last name that's at the beginning of the alphabet was just, beautiful in school, because it's like everyone can pronounce my name, and every time they're doing junk alphabetically, I know I only have to pay attention at the beginning.
His whole first and last name is 7 letters. Mine is double that.
2 syllables.
14. Yeah.
And it's spelled exactly like it sounds.
Yeah, but...
I love it. I used to hate it, and I love it now.
Are you still almost saying the Scotcast?
In my mind, I am. I'm still learning, but I'm hoping it will be that thing where it like eventually flips and...
The game must be spontaneous.
Nice. If you lose, you get punished.
Oh my gosh. We ask our silent viewers to drop an emoji and leave it at that. Do they actually do that? Okay, if you are a silent viewer, drop an emoji.
Well, I remember too, I think Heather just told me this, but James, you guys were having a thing where you guys were having a lot of viewers, but like they weren't talking in the chat, and you're like, guys, like, why? And then found out that a lot of people were watching on their TVs and couldn't go into the chat. So that was very interesting to realize, like, oh, this is, depending on what you're actually consuming the content on, you might not even be able to interact.
Yeah.
In a way. But yeah, so there we go.
Wow, 22. I mean, is that including your middle name though? He's counting the letters of his name.
And mine is 17, my full legal name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is 19.
Oh, we're almost the same. Yeah. And you have your secret name, too.
Well, I didn't include the secret name. All right. Well, here we go.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I guess it's time to clear the table. And as we wrap up, I think JFK has a great trivia question. Heather, how'd the backwards hat become a part of your staple look?
I don't know why I prefer wearing hats this way.
I don't even know if I know.
I just like it better.
Oh, I mean, you don't need you don't need a bigger reason than that.
And then I realized, like, whenever I would go out in the sun, I was like, oh, this is doing nothing for shade. It's like not actually covering anything, even though I have.
Have you always worn your hats backwards, like pre-YouTube?
You know who got me into it, I think? Kevin.
Your brother?
Yeah, because he made hats.
Oh.
As part of my brother, I don't know if he's here, but he had an apparel. Lurking. Yeah, he had an apparel brand. And like one of the things that he made were hats. And I think I wore them normally. And then I don't I don't even know. But it's like when people ask me, my hair is not purple anymore. I have like just last little bit of tips here. Yeah. But when my hair was like fully purple, people were like, oh, why purple? And I don't remember that decision. Like I don't remember like when purple became my favorite color, because it wasn't like Tom where, you've been a lifelong blue fan forever.
I don't remember not liking blue. I would just think last time you had your hair fully purple was when we got engaged, right? Mm-hmm. So that means your hair has grown this much since we got engaged.
Yeah, a whole head. Let's see, I got 14, 15. Puerto Rico, you have 2 last names. I love it. What's this?
My favorite thing.
This is like
an emoji.
Oh, here we go.
My favorite thing as being a teacher was, and this happened a lot. This happened a lot in our community, but students would have hyphenated last names, so they'd have the last name from each parent. But sometimes the parent would have the same last name. And so it would literally be like Heather Ramirez -Ramirez. And I'm like, guys, why are you doing this? Like,
what?
And that happened all the time. I mean, multiple students every school year had same last name - same last name. I'm like,
Let me
just leave it.
I know right? We've talked about this on here, but like Heather Buck Ramirez was definitely, or Heather Ramirez Buck. Is that what? Yeah. Heather Ramirez Buck was. I thought about Heather Buck. I know I've talked about this, but there's just no way, man.
But you told me that you like it when people call you Mrs. Buck.
I love being Mrs. Buck, but Heather Buck though, I'm sorry. Like Google her. I don't know.
Google her.
I don't know.
Well, Patrick said you need to start the Hat Cast.
Yes. Podcast about hats. I know. Actually, I was gonna connect with Preston and just be like, I'm just gonna make my hat because.
Look, Dr. Elo is Efren Lopez -Lopez.
No way. Oh, see, there you go. Het Buck.
Het's hats. I still think that should be.
Yeah. So feel free to call me Mrs. Buck.
Het's Hat Cast.
I don't mind it.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, cute. But Heather Buck,
gives me butterflies there. Well, with that, it's time to clear the table. This was fun. This really flew by. We went way over an hour. So.
Yeah, so if you already applied for the Just Create More Network, get your invite tomorrow. We're so excited to see you join and hang out, explore. And if you have any ideas, let us know because we want to make it for you.
Yeah, I was going to say the way you said it. You're like, hang out, explore, and just create more.
Oh, that's better, yeah.
I like that. You should remember it.
Have a good day, y'all.